I would like now to welcome to the stage the founder and chair of the Olusegun Obasanjo Foundation, His Excellency President Obasanjo, and my friend Zeinab Badawi, who is an international broadcaster of great repute. I'm delighted they're both here on stage. Mr. President, may I give you my microphone? Please, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Henry. Good evening, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's lovely to be with you here, and even better to be sitting beside a man I call Baba. So for a one-year-old, Mr. President, you're very steady on your feet, aren't you?
Yes. If
you're doing well.
A good baby start to walk about the age of 1. But you walk and stumble and walk and stumble. But we haven't stumbled yet.
No, you haven't, and we hope you won't.
Yeah.
Now, earlier on when we were having a chat, you were telling me that your first name, Olusegun, in Yoruba means God wins.
Yeah.
Is he going to win this one with the foundation for you in its second year? You're going to be going from strength to strength?
You know, I was talking to you earlier that in Yoruba tradition and a few other African traditions and culture that I know, names mean a lot. You don't just give a child a name for nothing. You look at the background, the circumstances and all that. And the circumstances determine the name you give a child. And the name you give a child also has implication for how the child performs in life. So, since my name is Victory, it means that anything I undertake, there will surely be victory.
All right. And there's no generation gap when it comes to you, Baba, because I know that in this second year of the foundation, you're really very keen to put Africa's youth center stage. Because, you know, we hear these things sometimes about the youth of Africa either being a demographic dividend, if you give them what they need, but also a demographic ticking time bomb, if you don't.
Well, you are absolutely right there. But before I deal with the demographic dividend or asset or liability, let me take this opportunity to express our appreciation to those who have supported us during the year. We listed them in the program on the table. Most of them are here. Without them, we would not have been talking about the success we have achieved. But we have made a very handsome beginning, and we will continue to count on them and others who are here and those that may not be here who are interested in being part of the success story that we are talking about. I want to, on behalf of the foundation, thank all our supporters. Now, that brings me to what you just raised. If Africa has a challenge today, I believe that challenge is the challenge of the youth. And as you have put it, in traditional African life, children are regarded as gifts of God. And children are regarded as blessings. Now, demography should not be a curse. It should not be a liability. It should be an asset. It should be something that we can make to make our community, our nation, our continent achieve the best for itself. But we can only achieve that if the demography that we have is empowered, is educated, is able to acquire skill, and be able to actually make meaningful contribution to their own life and to the life of their family and their community, their nation, their continent, and the world at large. And that is one of the major aim and objective of Olusegun Obasanjo Foundation.
And in regards to providing the youth of Africa with the right education and skills that equip them for the kind of jobs that African countries need for their development, you not only look at the what governments can do in terms of providing the right education, but also how the private sector can help.
Thank you very much. When we met at the wing of Clinton Global Initiative last September with 5 of our leaders, current leaders in Africa, others from the private sector, people from the civil society, what we are saying is that the responsibility for equipping the youth with the necessary education, necessary skill, the wherewithal to be able to make meaningful contribution through employment. First of all, they have to be employable. And unless the education, the skill, and all that is there, they will not be employable. And we say the responsibility is all hands on deck. It must not be left in the hand of government and government leaders alone. It must not be left in the hands of the private sector alone, not even in the hands of civil society, no matter how well-meaning and able they are, nor should it be left in the hands of international organizations alone. And when the youth of Africa, about 250 of them, met on the 29th of January in Addis Ababa, they actually, among themselves, came up with what they thought that the government can do, what they thought the private sector can and should do, what they thought that the civil society, the international organizations, and in fact went on to what they think they themselves should do for themselves. And for the first time, they were able to come before their leaders on the 30th of January and made the presentation to the African leaders.
And are the leaders listening?
The leaders not only listened, it became a wonderful dialogue. Some leaders were even carried away. They got carried away. They wouldn't stop.
Really?
Until I said, look, I gave the warning that, look, when you are talking, when I raise my white handkerchief, it means you should stop. I raised my white handkerchief, one leader didn't stop. I waved the handkerchief, he didn't stop. I waved the handkerchief again, he didn't stop. Until the youth helped me to say, Mr. President, the handkerchief is up.
So, as I said, that's going to be the emphasis, yeah? The youth.
Yeah, the emphasis.
But, yeah.
Emphasis.
But you also, in your foundation, go back to basics. And one of your initiatives, as we know, is Feed Africa.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing you can do unless your belly is full. And I know that last year you had one example of the kind of initiatives that you're taking in this initiative in your foundation, which is you went along to Tanzania and you spoke to President Jakaya Kikwete.
Yes.
And you said to him, listen, I think you need to use local produce in your food products. So you said cassava, you've plenty of that. Use it in your confectionery. Use 40% of the cassava flour in your bread. Have you tasted that, by the way? Does it taste nice?
No, yes, that's what I eat.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's what I eat. I eat
what, sweets made of cassava?
Yeah, I eat
Really?
bread made of 40% cassava. You see, I have to do that for 3 reasons. I am the ambassador of IITA, where they carry out research into cassava in Ibadan, Nigeria. I am the ambassador and go around the world and project the virtue and the value of cassava. 2, if we are able to put up to 40% cassava in our bread, we will be saving about 40% of what we use in importing wheat all over Africa. And that will be a lot of savings. And then, of course, if we produce cassava and we use it in our bread, we will be encouraging our farmers. And then, of course, by encouraging our farmers and making our farmers make more money, we will be creating wealth and we will be alleviating poverty.
And creating jobs. And talking about your own native Nigeria, I can't anymore say this, can I, that Nigeria is one of the world's biggest producers of tomatoes, but one of the biggest importers of tinned tomatoes, because you're beginning to make your own tinned tomatoes, aren't you now, in Nigeria?
We are now making a tinned tomato. You see, tomato, like some other crops and fruits in Nigeria and all over Africa, except where you have irrigation for producing, they are seasonal. And during the season, you get plenty of them, they rot, and then you cannot keep them. But if you can tin them or pulp them and keep them in pulp form, you can keep them all the year round or even beyond the year. And when you are doing that, again, you are adding value. You are creating job. You are saving the tomato from going to waste. And then you are not talking only of agriculture, you are talking of agribusiness. Because once your tomato moves from being tomato into being tinned or being pulped, then it's another, you are going into some form of industry, and that's business, it's industry. We are now not just talking of agriculture, we are talking of agribusiness.
Okay, good. So we've looked at your Feeding Africa initiatives, the youth and unemployment. I know one subject that's very close to your heart is the girl child in Africa. And it's very lovely to see in your own foundation how most of the people running it seem to be women. So you're putting your money where your mouth is, aren't you? You've not only got Anne, but you've got lots of other women. Because you believe, I think you feel that your own sister in your own family did not get the opportunities, although she's very intelligent, that you got simply because of her gender. And you don't want to see that carrying on.
No. And the one problem we must not lose sight of is that we still have imbalance in the education of children in Africa due to culture, due to religion in some parts, due to poverty. There are more male children going to school than there are female children. And this does not augur well for our development. If 50% of our population are not given the same opportunity, the same skill, the same education, the other 50%, there's imbalance and development cannot be as rapid and as even as it should be. So we need to do something about girl child education. Where there is cultural impediment, we must remove it. Where there is religious impediment, we must educate and let religion not be an impediment. Where there is poverty as an impediment, we must remove the poverty and allow the children.
And your foundation has just been presented with the opportunity to run a boarding school for girls in a part of Nigeria, which is a very exciting initiative that your team are trying to get.
We are taking one in Jigawa. We are looking at other parts of Africa, but we are taking one in Jigawa, where we have a partner in one of the companies that is supporting this, and we want to make this a model. And if that model works, the state of Jigawa will be able to replicate it. Other states in the country will be able to replicate it. And we are looking at not only Jigawa or Nigeria, we are looking at other parts of Africa. We have a program in Sudan.
Sudan, yes. Well, I'm delighted to hear that.
That would be close to your heart.
I'm with that. I was born in the Sudan. And you know, Baba, I told you this before, but my great-grandfather was the pioneer of girls' education in the Sudan. He began the schools and the education. We have a university that educates women, and it does exactly what you say. You know, you empower the females, and you really empower whole communities. The only trouble with my great-grandfather is he was so pro-women that he married 4 of them.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad...
You can't have everything.
No, that's not a bad thing. It's solving social problems. And if he does that, and is able to look after them, why not?
I don't know. And in fact, this school that your people went to, they were told, don't come to us on a Monday morning because the men in the village are going to see their other wives in the other towns. And it's not a good time to catch them. We've still got a long way to go in some ways, but we're making a start. And then finally, you have your leadership initiative. Give us an example of the kind of things that you've been doing with that.
Let me say, you see, all our initiatives, they overarch on leadership. If leadership is not there, whatever you try to do elsewhere will not achieve the result that you want it to achieve. So leadership is critical, it's vital, and we take leadership as very important. Particularly, as I say to the youth, don't wait and say, yes, you are the leader of tomorrow. Let today go pass you by. If you are going to be successful leader of tomorrow, you must be part of today. Today must be the time you will prepare for tomorrow.
I mean, that's the thing about your foundation, Baba, that all your initiatives are interlinked. You can't really deal with any of these issues in isolation. It's no use feeding somebody if you don't educate them. There's no point treating somebody for an illness if they're illiterate. So you really go right across all these kind of areas. And one question, because I know that there are a lot of people from the private sector here, is you hear a great deal now about private sector interest in Nigeria. You know, 160, 170 million people, the powerhouse of Africa. Why do you think there is this interest in the from the private sector in Nigeria?
Well, Nigeria is endowed by God to have what it takes for a country to make progress. And as you rightly said, if Nigeria has almost 20% of the population of Africa, think it's between 20 and 25%. Then when things are right in Africa, in Nigeria, it means that things are right in almost 25% of Africa. So that is one reason why Nigeria must get it right. That is one reason why Nigeria must be the focus for investment, because whatever happens in Africa and it happens well in Nigeria, it can be replicated in other parts of Africa. That's number one. If it goes bad in Nigeria, the chances are that it may go bad elsewhere. Nigeria has the population, it has the natural resources. Not more than 35% of our land area, arable land area, has been cultivated. We have the major mineral resources. Our land is not too bad in terms of productivity. We have oil, we have gas, we have coal, and then of course
You've got it all.
we've got it all.
And the best resource of all, the human resource.
We have the human
So
resource.
in
So
ma-
anybody, and not only the human resource, very intelligent, very enterprising human resource.
Okay.
So if you get it right in Nigeria, you get it right elsewhere.
All right, so what do you want everybody here now in terms of the foundation?
I was-
OOF, as Henry called it. What kind of help and assistance do you want from everybody here?
Well, as I said at the beginning, Zeinab, I appreciate on behalf of all of us in the OOF, appreciate those who have supported us for the launching last year, those who have supported us since the launching last year to this point in time. The journey so far has been fairly encouraging, fairly successful. Now, we are challenged to move forward. We are challenged to advance. We are challenged. We now have track record of achievement. We have program in the 5 initiatives. We have identified, for instance, in the health area, we have identified people we are working with on the blood issue, Terimo. The equipment will be, or the project will actually go for trial, for clinical trial, and it may be in the market by the end of this year. Now, that is the sort of thing we want to. We want to take a project and see it to completion, or to see it as a project that is out there for people. Youth employment is very key to what we want to do. Leadership is key, and the project that we have in children, girl-child education, the project that we have in Jigawa, we want to see it and be able to point to it during this year as the model. We are going to Sudan, as I said. We want to be able to get that. We want to have model farms and what we should do in increasing productivity, getting youth to be interested in agriculture.
All right, so think young for 2014
Yes.
with the foundation. That will keep us young, won't it, Baba?
Yes.
Thank you very much indeed, and everybody wishes you all the success.
Thank you very much.
Please thank President Obasanjo.
Thank you very much. One more time, please, for His Excellency President Olusegun Obasanjo and the wonderful international broadcaster from BBC World, Zeinab Badawi. Thank you very much indeed.